Welcome, everyone, to Find Your Light. My guest today is Madison Utendahl, who I've introduced in the intro, but I want to give you a little more flowers. Your BURNT Substack is just taking off, is such an amazing resource. I don't understand how you're able to pay attention to your subject matter so closely every week, because I get tired about researching shame.
Sure.
Like, I have to take lots of breaks because the word shame is like so intense. And the word burnout is so intense.
Yeah.
So how are you doing building this Substack that's growing and growing and is becoming this amazing resource? How are you doing with that?
You know, I look at it as not just about burnout, but really about like the system of work. So it's like burnout is a symptom, right, of a larger system that needs a reckoning and needs to be disrupted. So I think because I see it that way, there's like an endless, resource.
It's your critique of capitalism.
Yes.
It's like how I feel like we're lucky to have these like focus areas because it becomes your lens for looking at everything.
100%.
When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Oh.
But I love my shame hammer.
Shake.
You've got a burnout
Yeah, I got
hammer.
a burnout hammer.
So for those who are meeting you for the first time on this podcast, how do you define burnout?
I define burnout as a symptom of an identity crisis that exists because of a broken capitalistic system in this country and how we work. So I don't fault people for the trap and cycle that exists within burnout, because we are, as Americans, from the moment you're born, you're sort of defined by what you do and are encouraged to self-identify with your job as who you are in the world. But that system and that cycle leads to perpetual burnout. It's an epidemic. 76% of Americans identified as burnout, according to an AFLAC report from 2025.
Wow.
That's very high.
100% of people have experienced shame, according to the research I've done by being 44.
And if they haven't, they are
That's my qualitative.
narcissists.
They're malignant narcissists,
They're sociopaths.
So actually, it's not 100% of people.
No, what is the percentage of people in the world who are sociopaths? It's like 2% or something like that, 1%.
Well, according to people in therapy, it's all of our parents.
Everybody. According to TikTok, everyone is a sociopath and narcissist.
But according to TikTok, is everyone burned out? Like, do you feel that this subject is in the zeitgeist enough?
I mean, so I think TikTok is like cable news for me. I watch it and it's like majoritively like weird commercials that I'm avoiding. Do you know what I mean? Like that's how my algorithm has somehow, because maybe it's because I like watch like fart jokes on TikTok that I get served like
my YouTube algorithm is just drag queens and like cats knocking over things.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
And so it's in a funny way very like wholesome.
Yeah.
Wholesome, if you think drag queens like telling fart jokes is wholesome. But
well, it's just fascinating how like if you were to look at my Instagram, my entire algorithm and like For You page is interior design, like mid-century modern Brazilian modernism, or like artists to follow. Like it's a very, very elitist kind of view of art.
Okay.
TikTok, you would think I was a 17-year-old boy. I mean, I will preface, none of the crap that 17-year-old boys are being, no manosphere stuff. But like a lot of like jokes and pranks. Like I love a good prank.
This is where we're different.
Oh, you don't love a prank?
No.
I love a prank.
It has something to do with this is when the podcast is like my own personal therapy. Sure. I feel it is very unkind
to prank people,
to intentionally alter someone's like nervous system like that. So like I immediately feel like it's mean because the sensation after I've been startled is one of like, why? Yeah. Why would you do that?
Okay.
Like I can't, I didn't have siblings the way you have siblings. I have an older sister, but we kind of both grew up as like onlys.
Sure.
Like teasing is not one of my love languages.
Okay.
And I feel like it would contribute to burnout if I was being startled by a sibling all the time.
Lex and I talk about this often about like, why do I and my sister love pranks? And my thesis or belief system is that like there's an entire generation of 90s kids whose shows on MTV that they watched were all prank shows.
Oh, and
Jackass.
America's Funniest Home Videos, which is also like startling.
Yes, but more so like Jackass, Boiling Points, Like there were just all of these MTV shows and VH1 shows that were all about pranking people, ridiculousness. And that was like what I watched on television, just like people being pranked all the time. Borat, like all of that is my, yeah. But then there's
I also love Jackass, but that has to do with the masculinity thing. And like, I went to the Jackass sequel premiere.
Wow.
And in the theater, I remember walking in and there being an actual smell of a room full of men. Where I was like, is this heaven?
Oh,
is
interesting.
this what
wow, that's a completely different reason why I watched Jackass. But the other layer, and maybe some people on your podcast will know what I'm talking about. There were, oh my gosh, there was another one that showed that Tracy Morgan used to host. Oh
no
my
way.
God. Yeah, that was a prank show, but it was like crazy. Like a whole scare tactics. Oh, so good. But then there's a whole other level of pranking shows. There were like European pranking shows that were like super harmless, but so funny. Like someone would be like cycling in Copenhagen and they like turn a corner and like a peloton of cyclists in their gear and they're just like caught in, things like that. Or like in a German mall.
No, that's an excellent
that's
prank.
Like the one that my sister and I both think is so funny. There's like a German mall and there's a sushi restaurant and there's like a stand and you can go get a sample. And so people like walk over and they grab the sushi sample and they put it in their mouth and they look up and there's a sushi chef and he's like, and the person's like,
for those of you only listening, the sushi chef is licking all the fish.
And the person has it in their mouth and they're like,
it's grossing me out. It's so grossing me out.
But I think and maybe it was just the time, like I used to, my parents were getting divorced. I used to watch these things with my dad and we would like laugh so hard that I basically curated my entire TikTok to be those videos. So it's like a 17-year-old boy in like 2001.
Okay. Well, there's a spectrum. I always say that I want to be proposed to in a flash mob proposal.
No, you don't. Actually, you definitely do.
I mean, I'm a Leo rising. So there's nothing I want more than like an entire city block suddenly devoted to something special happening.
Oh
anyway.
My God, of course. And I'm going to be weeping like I won't be the flash mob. I won't be able to do the dance.
Because you'll just be crying.
Oh, they're so happy.
But I appreciate that any thoughtful prank that's like one cyclist being surrounded by 70 cyclists.
Funny.
That's very, very, very funny.
It's so funny. It's innocent humor.
Okay. Innocent humor. We love it. So I want to talk to you about the intersection of burnout and shame.
Yes.
Because we both, we're friends in real life.
Yes, we are.
So we've had a lot of these conversations off mic. So if anyone is asking for like journalistic excellence in this interview, it's not there. But I'm just really happy to see you and talk about everything we talk about. Oh, we are journalists.
You're journalists.
We're journalistas.
We're journalistas.
When I worked at the Gap in the late 90s, there was things you could be. You could like have different roles at the store, and one of them was denim specialist.
Oh, I love that.
And the binder to learn to be a denim specialist was translated into Spanish as well, and said denim especialista.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm against gendering in languages. So I was like, but where is the translation that's the denim especialisto? So I would demand to put the Spanish translation under my name tag that said denim especialista. And it was by like early protest. I don't know against what exactly, but I just really wanted people to know. Intense from a young age. Yeah. Anyway, working at the Gap.
I relate.
So I talk a lot about shame. You talk a lot about burnout, but it turns out sometimes we're talking about the same things. For you, how do you feel that shame, if shame is something you feel about yourself and guilt is something you feel about an action, shame is this overarching feeling of getting kicked out of a group. How does shame influence the burnout epidemic? And is it actually the underlying factor of it? Or is there something else unique that you feel is like the bedrock of burnout?
I have a guttural response and then an intellectual response.
Okay.
The guttural response is that I think the intersection of shame and burnout exists in the shame people have in admitting they're burnt out. that they have not protected their own peace, that they have violated their own boundaries, that they have not learned how to say no, that they overextend themselves. I think that is what triggers burnout and causes burnout, what leads to burnout. And I think there's a lot of shame people have in that they let themselves go that far. That's what I think that's part of the cycle.
So that's the like driver, because it prevents people from getting to that recognition and being open about it earlier.
Yeah, like some of the, I don't really agree when, a lot of these burnout guides and don't burn out bullshit that you see online. One of the first things they say is,
aren't you their mother? Aren't you mother?
I don't do how-tos for burnout. Because I don't believe in like set boundaries, which is a common piece of advice people give to prevent burnout. When the reality is that like what in most cases you burn out because the boundary is not really, doesn't feel tangible to set, right? Like you have a very demanding boss, you have a company that is maybe in dire straits and needs people to be working overtime. You are trying to get that promotion. Boundaries are hard to grasp in those moments. So telling someone to set a boundary when they already know they're not doing that, it is shameful. You're like, oh, well, fuck, I've already missed that boat. Okay, what's the next step? How's the next thing that I can heal myself from this thing? And I just think it's there's a lot of shame in burnout, an enormous amount of shame. And shame in that it takes longer than most people want to admit to recover from burnout. It is not like just quit your job.
Oh. So
right?
There's shame in like,
how the length of time.
I'm still talking about this subject.
I'm still talking about this. I'm still burned out. Like I'm not even at that job anymore. And I'm still struggling with brain fog. I'm still struggling with extreme fatigue. It is a literal chemical rewiring of your body. That's why when people quit, it doesn't always make them feel better, right? They're like, fuck, why don't I feel better? I'm like, because it's actually not about the job.
Okay.
It's about you and how you showed up at the job. And that pattern probably just exists in your life. And your job is just the easiest way that pattern can manifest.
Because we spend so much of our life at work. And then it's also an extra layer of shame to admit I've been spending so much of my time at this job and maybe it's not fulfilling or it's not 100%. Giving back to me, or I refuse to see the red flags.
Yeah, and we live in a world where everyone's like, you got to love what you do and you got to be passionate about what you do. And it's also has to pay your bills and make you super rich. And then you're also going to raise a family on that job and all the other things. And what if you're just like, I don't like what I'm doing? There's shame in that, because this whole idea, there's a lot of schools of thoughts on this. Not everyone agrees with it, but I am not a believer in that you should love your job.
I know.
I think your job needs to fulfill a very specific
You
thing.
were one of the first people that revealed to me that when you're at work and you hear them describe it as a family,
done, get out.
That it is difficult. And so I have an office job. I work in an office. I work with
Same.
a big team. Mm-hmm. And I now, as gently as I can, when we are in large group environments and people start to do the talk about how it's a family, I do let them finish.
Sure.
I'm going to let you finish. I let them finish. And then in smaller groups, I'm like, isn't it interesting that that's where our minds go? However, your family is your family. Chosen family is a family. Some of these work people can be chosen family, 100%. But a reminder, work is where we get to sometimes be our best version of ourselves, and you don't have to bring family dynamics here. 75% of the time, it completely falls on deaf ears. They are offended, where they're like, don't tell me how to talk about how I feel with this team.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh. So, and then it's a little mansplainy. It can be white-splainy. I'm thinking about sometimes specifically where they're like, really? You're going to tell me that family is the most important thing in the world to me and I love this team as family? And I'm like, okay, well, I fucked this. Excuse me. I screwed up this conversation.
I mean, they have some shit to work through, I would say, nicely. And it's not, I think the reality is that you can have a familial relationship with the individual. You can have a connection with someone you work with. I mean, I've had people I've worked with for 10 years that I wouldn't say they were family, but I am there for them like I would be a family member. If specifically like Tori, who I've worked with since Museum of Ice Cream, I can confidently say that if she called me at any moment, it was like, I need your help, I would respond like a family member. For sure. I love that girl. I think it's dangerous when we create environments that are contractual, where money is the currency that is exchanged between people, that the word family is used very, very sparingly, because ultimately it creates a false sense of connection and loyalty. And the reality is that at the end of the day, that CEO and that boss can let someone go and completely kick them out of this family, and the emotional toll that that is going to cause someone versus just, this is a job and we are contractually attached to this place of employment. It's make or break for people.
And that sensation of we are family until that day I want to fire you.
Yes.
And then it's actually, I'm totally fine with estrangement. You're out of the family.
Yeah, and it feels, I mean, it's always going to be devastating, but that blow, I think, takes a whole other level. Because imagine, I mean, think about the depth of pain that exists of abandonment and estrangement and disconnection in blood families.
Yeah.
And if you emulate that in professional environments, which are entirely allowed to let people go.
I have to say, that's one of my favorite parts of like growing into mid-career is I noticed when I became the person doing hire and firing
Sure.
and giving the reviews and it becomes complicated when you shift from being like underling to management and you're like, how do I want to lead?
Yeah, and I also think unless you're a part of the 1% of sociopaths, it's a very, letting go of someone is hard.
It is.
It's emotionally taxing. Yeah, some people are able to do it. There's not one person I've let go of that I've not thought about their well-being after the job. Yeah. I've not been like, I hope they can find something soon after this. I hope they're not employed for a long time. I hope we can give them a proper severance I can hold. Like, I emotionally think about the consequences of this. But I find that the further along in my career I get, the more I keep a boundary on interpersonal connection until we are no longer working together. So some of my closest friends now are people I used to work with that I consider family now. But when we were working together, that boundary, in my opinion, has to be up.
Okay.
To prevent burnout, by the way.
Burnout for you or for them? Are you doing some labor to prevent for them?
No, for you as the person. Like, I just find that when you are I've seen it and experienced it even with teams that I'm managing right now, is that like there becomes when you choose to become super close to the coworker, there becomes this, well, we'll get it done later, or she can do it, or I'm not worried about it because this person's got it. And I think those things are great, but sometimes they lead to a lot of resentment. Sometimes they lead to one person having to take on the responsibility, the other person not. It can lead to dysfunction amongst teams. It's complicated. If one person decides to go, the other one can feel betrayed. They're very layered interpersonal dynamics when people decide to adopt a family environment at work. And I think it does perpetuate a lot of burnout. I've seen it even amongst my own team. Like when I had my agency, like there were times there were two women who worked for me that are now best friends. And at the time, they were becoming best friends or growing into a stronger sisterhood relationship. And there were moments where the tension between them was so intense, I'd have to put them on separate meetings. It was too much of a personal bond in a working environment.
There's a lot to manage there.
Except I just finished watching Jury Duty, the new season.
Oh, I don't know about this.
Oh, my God.
Oh, is that an example of a prank where everyone...
Except it's the main character in it is, if I am fortunate enough to have a son, I truly hope I can raise such a kind human like this man. Oh, no, they put him up against so much stuff that you're like, there is no way he's not going to snap. And he leads with so much humanity and compassion. You're like, who is this human? He's wonderful. Anthony Norman.
Hey, Anthony. Is he single?
I'm married.
No, I know. I feel like I have a lovely boyfriend. No, I'm saying like the world. Like, sorry, when I hear about excellent men, I immediately, oh my God, isn't that interesting? When I hear about excellent men, I'm literally just like, are they getting laid?
Wedding.
No, I'm just putting excellent men on blast, and I just want him.
I know the timing.
Whoops. I love Lex. Lex is going to listen to this episode and be like, Adam, are you on my team or not? Anyway.
Is he single? I'm like, for who? For you? And you're like, no, I have a boyfriend. I'm like, then for who are we talking
I just want to make sure he's getting laid. When I hear about
I don't
lovely
know if
people,
he's single. I haven't done that. I know he has a child, but maybe he's married. Maybe he's a kid. I don't know. I haven't gone that far.
I want to shift a little bit I want to gas you up a little bit and get some nuance here. You were on the Forbes 30 Under 30.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Which I'm sure contributed to your burnout because you were on a fast track and getting so much, media, press, accolades. There is a little bit of a joke developing on the internet that the Forbes 30 Under 30 is also a pipeline to getting indicted and arrested and going to jail.
Yes.
And I perceive that it is because it props up a fake it till you make it mentality that ultimately leads to lying.
Yeah.
And one of my character flaws is a lot of celebrity empathy. Like
no, you do.
and so I'm very like, I wonder what the whole story is there.
Yeah.
And I even have a lot of sympathy for someone like Elizabeth Holmes, that although she did do, for what she was convicted for, it's like very specific that she like put people's lives at risk. Like I understand that is a step too far. But the beginning of her climb includes figuring out how to play a man's game, talking the way she talked, finding her Steve Jobs uniform, and like clicking into all these ways that we are taught as a culture. I wanted to be a Forbes 30 Under 30. And then I wanted to be on some list that was 40 Under 40. And now I'm 44. I'm just solidly mid-career. I'm just right on time for accolades. So there's no list. It's just people saying, Adam, good job. Exactly. But that's only a response to early acclaim. So I just want to hear from you because I'm obsessed with people's kind of like growth through becoming kind of like celebrities, because it's difficult. And I also want to preface this with something unique I know about you as a friend is that because you grew up witnessing fame and kind of close range, let's just say like a lot of NBA players, nearby and that kind of thing. And you saw it as a job. You were like, you could be a fireman, a police officer, a therapist, or a famous person. Like you saw it as one of the jobs.
Well, I don't know. I would say the proximity I experienced as a child was rooted in like talent as associated with fame. Like I never thought like you could be a celebrity. I'm like, oh, you can be the best athlete in the world and there's fame attached. Very
interesting.
Different.
Okay, wow. Talk about that's why we're doing a podcast interview.
Yeah, I never.
That's quite a different.
I would argue that my parents are very much like, you are known because you're phenomenal at something, not because there's like fame attached or like you choose to be famous.
Okay.
But I think it's a very different type of exposure to fame when it's professional athletes. Do you know what I mean? Like I just think it's because there's no sort of like, the only way that person is at that level is because of extraordinary talent. It's kind of one of the only industries where.
That's a really interesting distinction. You're going to unwind most of my question then, because I think because I'm so obsessed with politics, which is a certain type of fame that isn't from excellence.
No.
Right now, the members of Congress are some of the smartest and some of the dumbest people in America.
For sure.
It is not a merit-based job.
No.
It's Hollywood for ugly people. And Hollywood is also, I surely didn't make that up, but like, and then Hollywood is just a popularity contest of like who wants it the most. So I'm talking about
whatever you want to say.
Yeah, luck and timing as well. And you're talking about witnessing excellence up close.
But let's go back to the 30 Under 30 thing, because I am very outspoken about how I do not care about being on that list at all. I think it was a complete waste of time.
Really?
And there's a reason why Forbes has never asked me to speak on anything, because I'm like, don't do it. So I think it's two things. 30 Under 30, I think it's important to acknowledge that there are like, I don't know how many subcategories, but let's just say I'm going to ballpark between like 7 and 10.
Okay.
And
so it's not only 30 people. It's like.
No, it's not only 30 people.
It's like 300 people.
Yeah. And the 30 Under 30 to prison pipeline is pejoratively like tech, real estate, and finance verticals.
Okay.
Versus like arts, entertainment, marketing, which is the one I did, design. And I think there's a nuance there, and that like there's not like the same amount of capital attached to the lists that aren't associated with finance and tech, right? Like you're just not taking, at the height of my agency, I was not taking in revenue and profit anywhere near the people on the tech or finance list. Do you know what I mean? Like the pipeline is totally, like the prison pipeline from the arts list is probably zero.
Zero.
You know what I mean? Marketing, maybe too. Like, I don't know. I think it's a very...
Marketing by its very nature is faking it till you make it.
Yeah, but no one is like, there's no thievery involved with finances, right? That's like where the majority of these people are going to prison.
I love that I thought this would be a fluffy question, and you're like, no, I've deeply thought about
it. But more than that, the reason why I'm like very outspoken about it is that like it is a hollow and vapid accomplishment that doesn't come with anything other than a momentary sense of like elation, euphoria even, that you achieved something that millions of people have wanted. But that is not a tangible sensation. Like, it doesn't come with money. It doesn't come with an award ceremony. There's no plaque. There's no public sort of recognition besides like maybe an Instagram post, one article and then like a column. You know what I mean?
In a printed magazine.
That you find at the airport that my dad probably has 20 printed copies of. You know, like it just... I say that because every year people reach out to me and they're like, how do I get 30 under 30? And I decline writing letters of support anymore.
Okay.
I don't do it because I think it breeds a very unhealthy sense of value and worth in this country that in the end doesn't amount to much. Now, am I proud of myself for it? Absolutely. It feels incredible. And I think as a Black woman, it's important that I'm on that list. I love when I hear from other Black women who are like, I felt inspired to apply because I saw you were on it. Great. I feel that if that's the only thing that I get out of that means everything to me. But for people to be busting their ass to try to get on it, I'm like, it's not an Oscar. You're not like, there's nothing to even look at tangibly afterwards to be like, wow, I did this.
Other than doing interviews and having people bring it up.
Yeah.
Forever.
Or you can pay
including
for
me.
the fucking whatever $300, $600 certificate that they charge online if you want to buy it that says you were 30 under 30. It's all just a fucking game. And like, play it. Go for it. I played it. I played it for years. But don't have expectations of that game providing you any value. And I think that's the drop off you see that people have is like they get these things and they're like,
what do I do with that?
It's a cricket.
Interesting. So let's stay in this vein of people who have had a rise, a moment, and a blaze of popularity. And sometimes there's tangible things and sometimes it's crickets, like you said. Someone who accidentally achieved internet fame in 2010 is the mother of my research.
I was like, you?
Brene Brown. Gave a little TEDx talk at TEDx Houston, and she went viral for a talk about the power of vulnerability. And it changed the game around a kind of awareness of vulnerability and a little bit of shame, and kind of changed the world of self-help. She later on went to do a talk about the power of shame 2 years later that really helped influence the birth of post-shame.
Sure.
And you recently on Instagram had a kind of looking back.
It was an article first.
Excuse me, it was an article first, but one of the things that blew up was on Instagram of you saying, it deserves a re-examination of how this vulnerability talk and the Brene Brownisms have filtered down, especially into millennial women, and created an environment where they were all taught to be vulnerable at work, bring their whole self to work. And you are like, this did not work out.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, my close friend Madison is dragging Brene. I wonder how I'm going to feel about this.
I stand on that I wasn't dragging her.
No, you weren't. And this whole conversation is probably going to be boiled down to the soundbite of wow, isn't nuance gorgeous? Can't we have longer conversations with nuance?
Yes.
But we are making a podcast and we are trying to get, bigger conversations started in the world. So we're going to keep talking. But Brene essentially subtweeted you by
Sassy.
responding in the comments.
Yes.
That she gives you the data that her...
she references her 2 books.
She references her 2 books.
Not the talk, which is what I was referencing. So that was the immediate sort of... one, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. She does not have to agree with me. We do not have to agree with each other. And I have respect for Brene Brown, as I said in my reel and in detail in my Substack article, which has citations, references her books, references her sources, and she did not do her homework. Let's just say there. What I was referring to, which I still think, 2 things. Let me step back. I love being able to take a step back and reevaluating work I've done in the past and assessing how it is translated through time. And can I revise it or look at it again with fresh eyes based upon the cultural context to which I'm living in now?
Which I just want to plug that is a very post-shame reexamination of we stand in the present, we look at the past, we assess what would it be like if we dragged this forward, and then we imagined a different future. And so you're in exactly that lens of how did this all work out and what do we want next?
Absolutely. Last year, Malcolm Gladwell came out with a book called Revenge of the Tipping Point, which was, I thought, a brilliant analysis of his work, The Tipping Point, and where he feels like he was right and where he feels like he was wrong. Adam Grant similarly has done a lot of work where he has gone back and reviewed some of the things that he's written, both in written form, in books or things that he has said, and been like, does this still apply? Was I right or was I wrong? I loved that they both did that, especially Malcolm Gladwell writing this entire book on it. I was like, wow, this is a really, I was impressed by it. I thought it was really important. And I felt like not enough people are willing to do this. That's a note. I'm on a flight a couple weeks ago and I'm listening to The Interview, which is a show on the New York Times podcast channel that I love. And one of the hosts is this incredible journalist named Lulu Garcia Navarro,
who is looking so amazing.
Fabulous.
I know we don't have to talk about how women look, but I just want to shout out that Lulu Garcia Navarro is so fabulous. And I feel it needs to be more of a gay icon. So maybe we're starting the stand-up of Lulu here today.
Totally.
So I'm looking at the camera. Lulu.
We love you, Lulu.
We love you, Lulu. Come on. Come on the pod.
But I have... I have an enormous amount of respect for her, and I also will note that the people I consider celebrities and that I really want to meet in the world are Wesley Morris and David Remnick and Michael Barbaro. I was at an award show and Snoop Dogg and Adam Sandler were there, and they were and Michael Barbaro, and I was like, what does he even look like? I don't even know what he looks like, but Michael Barbaro, yes, I want to meet him.
That's so funny. I have deep intel on all these people and have met all these people.
Oh, wow.
And I'm so those are off my conversations.
Totally. That's a separate episode.
Hey, Wesley.
I love you, Wesley. I love you. I don't even know where to look.
The most important cultural criticism of the last 10 years is Wesley Morris's reassessment of Michael Jackson and that you can't cancel Michael Jackson in death because his music has infused every single part of our culture. And it is the most thoughtful assessment of what it means
he's brilliant.
To deny cancel culture.
He is brilliant. I am a super fan.
Wesley, we love you.
Obsessed. Okay, but back to our...
So you're on a
flight.
flight.
To our queen, Lulu.
So I'm on the flight. You're watching Lulu.
There is no internet.
On your phone.
Which I actually love when that happens, personally. And it's a flight back from LA. And I have the interview automatically downloads to my podcast app on my phone. So I'm I'm going to listen to this interview, and it's Brene Brown talking about her new book with Lulu Garcia Navarro. And the core thesis around Brene's book is actually about compassion in corporations. And she talks a lot about Gen Z, and she talks about how in this era that we're living in, how do we show up with more compassionate leadership, et cetera. However, in the interview, I found, my personal opinion is I found her to be disgruntled And I found her to be, which Lulu.
Are you about to like describe a woman as shrill? Are you
No,
about?
I wouldn't do that. I just found her to be like very defensive, and I found her to sort of struggle with the question that Lulu was posing around, you know, how does she feel about being a self-help guru, or that?
Oh, I know exactly what you're referring to.
I'm misquoting it, but there's something that there's a way.
No, because she was Brene was kind of like appointed as like the nation's therapist.
Yes, and she is not.
And she is not, but she is also. I just think this is a really juicy conversation, because my watching of this and seeing her disgruntledness and discomfort is because I feel like she, like many of us, is like, don't I get to say who I am in the public? Mm-hmm. And Lulu's like, no.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to hear.
Totally. But two things can be true at the same time. Like, I actually understand and have deep empathy for the fact that she is not a therapist, that she could not have anticipated a TED Talk about vulnerability based on extensive research. And as someone who has a PhD, so coming at it from an educational, intellectual research perspective, would amass 62 million views and would catapult her to being an icon, right? That is, especially in this like self-help world. There's no part of me that is confused or disagrees or doesn't have deep compassion for why that is not a title she has sought out and wants. Get it. Nonetheless, when I was listening to it, it felt, in my opinion, like a unwillingness or a contentious sort of disconnection from the fact that even if that's not something she's wanted, that is something that has been assigned to her, and there is still a responsibility or an acknowledgement more publicly that the impact of specifically this TED Talk has had on people. That was basically the thesis of my article, which is that when I graduated from college, when I was a senior in high school, that talk came out. And I watched it when I was in college. And when I graduated from college, there was almost like there were two options you could choose, it seemed or felt, as a 21-year-old woman, which was to go down this like girl bossery bullshit act, or to pursue what felt like a toxic masculine way of existing in the workplace. And as I developed in my career, I watched the female bosses I had choose one or the other. When I was at HBO, the female boss that I had was a jerk. Like, she was so nasty, and she would say things like, I did it when I was a PA, so you have to do it. She chose the toxic masculinity path. And then as I continued on in my career at Museum of Ice Cream, even Refinery 29, they very much chose this girl boss, female empowerment path. I did not see myself in either of these things. And I remember watching this talk and being like, oh, there is a different choice here, which is like being vulnerable, being authentic, showing up at work in a space where I feel like I am being true to myself. Well, the reality is you don't really know who you are at 23 and 24 years old. So I had no understanding of what that meant. And that actually perpetually led me to burnout, because I gave so much of myself to my jobs and to my employees and to my employer. And that is the sort of analysis and critique I'm asking Brene to have, which is, can we look and see the cultural impact of this one talk on this subset of women who made that choice? I am not referring to her books. I am not referring to Daring Greatly or Atlas of the Heart, which I've read and I've annotated and I have photos to prove it. I am referring to this TED Talk and this one cultural impact it had on this one group of people. And this article has taken a life of its own. 85% of people that I hear from are grateful. They say like, wow, I resonate with this. I've heard from so many millennial women who are just like, oh my gosh, I completely understand. Like, this talk impacted my life in a way that I couldn't have planned for. And I don't know if it's helped me more than hurt me. And I've heard from a lot of women of color who feel like this being vulnerable road that many of us took from let's say 2013 to 2020 caused us a lot of harm. I am not critiquing Brene Brown. I am looking at the cultural analysis of the impact of this talk. But Brené's comment on my post also set off a lot of racism, a lot of vitriol, and it frankly was incredibly disrespectful and irresponsible for her to insinuate, which she does in that comment, that I have not read her work, when I'm not even fucking talking about those damn books. I'm talking about the TED Talk.
She also says in the comment that, like, seems like it needs more nuance, like more than what social media like can handle, but she is in that moment participating in that erasure of nuance, in trying to do it in like a comment section.
Yeah, and you can't play smart and stupid at the same time. That's a John Utendahl quote. My dad says that all the time. You cannot be out here in the world being like, I don't want to be a self-help guru. I don't want people to look at me that way, while also knowing that you're on a New York Times Daily interview where there's millions of people listening and you have 5 million followers on Instagram, and you're going to comment on a young Black woman's page and be like, I'm going to say something that is definitely going to spiral. But I didn't know.
Oh my God. Wait, this is the part of the interview where I do come off as a Brené Brown apologist. I'm struggling with that. I love, what's your dad's quote? Just to say that your
dad can't be smart. You can't play smart and stupid at the same time.
Okay. I'll take that to heart. One of the things in my like cultivated empathy for those making effort in the world and trying to participate in conversations and trying to have difficult conversations and trying to engage, that there's so much fumbling forward. Mm-hmm. There's so much tripping over your own shoelaces. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I kind of am like, it's impossible to hold all that in every convo. I'm in Brené's shoes right now, and I guess I am being an apologist in this way. I'm in Brené's shoes right now because I know exactly the interview you're talking about, and you're talking to hot Lulu Garcia Navarro, okay? And you feel like you're just having a one-on-one conversation, and it's getting a little like, I don't know, I'm uncomfortable reassessing my whole legacy. Sure. And so in that moment, no, she's not like aware of her followers and her bestsellers. Like, she's like so human. And then I don't know, there's something
in the interview, totally, but commenting?
No, and that is the problem where I sometimes want to comment on the internet. Mm-hmm. It's so rare that I do, because now I'm fully trained that 99% of the time what I'm about to write just isn't worth it. I believe that Brené herself wrote the comment to you.
I know she did. There is no publicist or assistant in the world that would write a comment that emotional and that defensive on someone who has 28,000 followers on Instagram, who's a young Black woman in New York. There is no way. First of all, I'm like, who's the fucking mole that I know that knows Brené Brown? Because that didn't just like come up. She was someone I know sent it to her, first of all. That's a fact. I want to know who that is.
I love like this is like when Inside Baseball, like the Succession filmed version of this.
Impossible. She commented within like 30 minutes of the post being up.
Whoa.
No. It was so quick. And I was like, maybe it was 2 hours, which is still a very short amount of time. I know that because I got an email that timestamped, which was like, did you see that Brené Brown just commented on your post, from my friend Mace's little sister? And I was like so shocked because I had put my phone away to be on a 2-hour meeting after I posted. So I was like, there's what? So I knew someone I know sent it to her, which is fine, frankly. But I guess what my critique or my commentary is around, and again, like there's a responsibility, whether or not you like that you've been given this title or you've been platformed in a way, there is a power that she has in communication. There's a power that she has in her follower size. There's a power that she has in that despite not wanting this self-help guru title, she has impacted and changed people's lives majoritively for the better. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people in this world who look at her as that, who can't afford therapy, who don't have resources to mental health support. And she has, for better or for worse, whether she likes it or not, served a purpose for them through her books, through her literature, through her research, through her comments. And I guess when we talk about like shame, what I'm the most disappointed by is not even the racist comments that I've gotten about people assuming or saying that I'm not well read. I'm like, you can say a lot of shit about me, but you will not win when it comes to being educated and unread, honey. Well-read, honey. I'm like, I got all you hillbillies. I'm ready. Love a debate. Let's do it.
Okay. She's ready. She's done her research.
I'm so ready. I mean, come on. But that's not even like in the racism, the from the old white boomer ladies who think they're offending me by insinuating that I'm not educated, which I'm not offended by because I'm like, I can just show you my degrees if you need me to. It's the lack of acknowledgement and apology. The inability to be like, you know what? I shouldn't have commented. I know my power, and my power unleashes things outside of my control, which is bigotry and racism and disrespect. Therefore, I should not have commented, because the percentage of people that are going to respond that maybe could say that is enough for me not to say anything.
And that's what silencing looks like. And
she has not responded. I have DM'd her. I have even messaged her on Substack, where she has a much smaller following, with the link to my article and highlighting where I have acknowledged at length that she is not responsible for millennial burnout. And where I research her work, nothing, not a fucking peep. I have unfollowed her, and she has completely lost my respect. Completely. Because look, I think as the incredible Wesley Morris says, like, there is something to be said about making a mistake in society and acknowledging the mistake and sitting with the fact that you may not be forgiven. Right? That's the thesis of your work too, is that like, it's not about whether or not society accepts your apology. Are you willing to let go of your shame enough to apologize, period?
That's the essence of a good apology.
100%.
Is you have to, yeah.
I love an apology.
I love an apology.
I love an apology. I've heard from people from all walks in my fucking life giving me apologies at different times. And I have also apologized to people way later in life from the inciting incident that maybe caused our dysfunction. It feels good.
It does.
I read something recently that says someone's inability to apologize is a testament to the depth and the lack of self-compassion that they have, because they can't sit with the discomfort of the shame of being like, wow, I hurt someone's feelings. I must then have to go within and find self-love and self-compassion to move through that reality that I have caused this pain.
Exactly. I know exactly the quote you're talking about, because I remember it as being about just simply accountability.
100%.
That your ability to be accountable, and the last step of post-shame is stay in the conversation and see what happens.
Yeah.
That after you release what it is you're afraid of, that you're willing to stay in the conversation. And right now we're kind of asking Brene to stay in the conversation, and she's not responding to you.
I've had to turn the comments off my post.
Yeah, because I
have gotten so much fucking racist bullshit. And I'm like, hello, miss, this started because you commented in a way that was so defensive and disrespectful. People can comment on that post all they want and disagree with me. I've rewatched my own work now a disgusting amount of times. I've rewatched that reel so many times to be able to try to understand all the perspectives that come out of it. And I do understand the perspective if someone says this is clickbait, someone says this doesn't speak to the totality of Brene Brown's work. Okay. I'm not.
You were like, I was not assessing the totality of anything.
Of her work. I'm talking about this one TED Talk, and I'm in defense of this one group of millennial women. That's it. I like, people cannot hold it. And guess what? I am okay with that. But I am not okay with the withdrawal. That is the part that bothers me the most. It's like being a sore loser. You don't have to like losing, but you got to be respectful. You got to respect it.
I love the end. It's not like my sports knowledge runs deep. It's narrow and deep. It's just not wide,
sure,
right?
That's fair.
But the end of games where you have to walk
Shake
by
hands
and say good game and everything is so essential. And when it's usually men, can't handle the sensation of losing, and then there's these videos of the like not shaking hands and like looking away and everything.
And guess what? Everyone's like, wow. Because you, like, again, like it is the most human animal, mammal thing is to experience loss and shame. Like it is not an experience that any of us are above or are not afforded to experience. And what I find fascinating is that when people in public positions can't sit in that. And in her case, especially if someone, I don't think she knows the impact of that comment on my post, but she knows the impact of her comments, and that's what I call bullshit on. Period.
Or because I'm apparently I'm experiencing some kind of like out of body empathy for her because I'm like,
also that's the art of debate.
I'm like, or she is just learning the power of her comments.
Perhaps.
And so it's obvious that I'm guilty of like having this outsized amount of like reconsideration empathy for her because mother.
She's not a bad person.
No, and you've never once said she was a bad person, but you are doing the thing, which is, it's not that I'm mad, it's that I'm disappointed.
Yeah, literally. Though.
Okay, that is chilling to anyone who's ever done anything wrong. I mean, that's the hardest part.
If you are not prepared on the internet to be critiqued and ripped apart, then you probably shouldn't be participating.
And that is another central tenet of post-shame. It is not for the weak.
It's not for the weak.
And there's a ton of complication with this recent ruling around the addictive nature of YouTube and Meta and everything that it's like funded by like right-wing groups and like could be a very bizarre slippery slope for content moderation and like erasing of dissent and like LGBTQ people. But anyway, that what I wanted to get at was, I can't believe this thing that you and I are describing as don't be on the internet unless you're ready. And it's much more powerful than you realize. And everywhere you go, you bring your power behind you and consider the power of your comments and everything. Yeah. It's in this.
Yeah.
This thing is, we've never had a sharper double-edged sword.
Totally.
In humanity's lifetime.
Yeah.
The intensity of the internet is because of people and eyeballs. And that's why online shaming is so terrifying.
Yeah.
Because when you go through something, I'm thinking right now about that couple, the CEO and his head of HR that are like hugging at the Coldplay concert.
Yeah.
And like, their lives were upended and ruined, and there's so much nuance to that story, and there's also like absurdity.
Also, her life was completely decimated in a way that was inappropriate and disproportionately, as we tend to do in this world.
Because online shaming is gendered and racialized.
100%. She was divorced. He was married. She was living her life.
And figuring it out. Because two adult people, I mean, she was just on the Oprah podcast, talking about, she was at work and one of her closest confidants, the CEO, they started being vulnerable with each other. They really brought their whole self to work.
Violation, right? Like that was the only violation, is that like you shouldn't, I do support the like intermingle, I don't think you should be romantically involved with people you work with, personally. I think
it's one of my favorite boundaries to keep. My boyfriend, I'm looking back in the camera again. My boyfriend and I became friends and had a 2-year friendship because we had a professional relationship, and it created such a long-term edging, like the excitement and desire between us for 2 years.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can't believe you're maintaining this boundary. And I was like, I have this thing called post-shame. Like, I have to walk this walk.
Yeah.
When he left the organization and I left the board, then we got started. But it was 2 years of friendship. Anyway, I do believe that it's I know the heart wants what the heart wants, and who knows when we're quoting when we say that. But you got to wait until you both don't work there.
Wait. But I don't know her name, but Team Her.
Team Her at the Coldplay concert.
Team Her, lady at the Coldplay concert. Team Her.
Team Her. Before we move into Act 2, I just want to thank you because, playfully, I was like, I can't wait to go to the mat with you. Like, we finally have the reason to do the podcast conversation because you're upset with Brene, and I like only have Brene to thank, and like I've been wanting to interview Brene for ages. And I think one of the reasons why the universe has kept that from happening is I was never going to be able to have a thoughtful conversation with her other than fawning. over her. And I feel that you have given me such an, I mean, of course, my entire life is just being handed wisdom by women and Black women, like just handed wisdom. So thanks again.
You're welcome.
And now I'm like, oh, I need to have this thoughtful conversation from here. So I really want to thank you because I desperately either want to talk to her about this subject, and I don't know how much labor you want to do on the subject in the future, but I also feel like a moderated conversation with you and her where I am moderating, it's like, is that maybe the only way she'll feel safe is she's like, well, at least there's this post-shame fan guy.
$1 million that won't happen, but if
baby, no.
Actually, it's April 7th and it's Leo's time, so you know what?
Brene, do you want to talk it out? Because this is, and I'm being completely serious in saying this, because this is all I want from the internet, is deep, considered conversations where you are being lovingly critical to get somewhere better.
I think we've lost the art of debate, right? Like the reality is that we as a society used to watch debates on television. We used to watch Gore Vidal debate William Buckley and James Baldwin debate and being able
that
to
stuff,
sit
it's
there.
like porn now. You talk about my YouTube algorithm. It's a lot of people in the 70s sitting in chairs. I mean, Maya Angelou talks with
but it was an art form, and it required the ability to hold nuance. It acquired the ability to create and inform and build an argument rooted in research and thought, to have an intellectual debate, to remove emotionality behind it. And there's a reason why when William Buckley makes the comment and insinuates unveils Gore Vidal's sexuality, that became such a groundbreaking moment in society, because it broke the code of debate, which was not to be personal. And we have lost that. And I think it's a shame. I've really been wanting, you could argue that there's Jubilee and all these networks that are trying to build debate, but it's not debate. That is rage bait. That is perpetually putting forth resources on the internet for racist ideology, homophobic ideology to exist. I don't really understand what's the point of watching 20 homophobic people sit with a gay man. I'm like, what is this?
Well, it's that MTV garbage from the 90s.
No, that MTV, I stand by MTV in the 90s and the early 2000s. But
MTV lost their way.
What am I saying? I was born in 91. I don't really know. I didn't watch MTV until the 2000s, just saying. But my point is that I think the dangers of the internet, which we all know, is that the art of debate has died, and people just dump what the emotions they feel are online, and they don't actually pause and think. And I know that because every fucking comment that I've gotten and message that I've engaged with, when I just meet them with a little bit of integrity and thought and consideration, they disappear. They respond being like, well, you should read her books, bitch. And I'm like, I have. And actually, here's some photos of my annotations.
I know, but that's...
And people are like,
that's useless. Oh. Yeah, but...
No, but it's kind of nice to clap back in a way that's not emotional.
I mean, Sarah Silverman, has a whole long bit about, she had her life changed by interacting with her haters online and digging into their lives and getting to know them better and then meeting them and being like, a lot of times it's just people really struggling.
Sad. No, for sure.
But that really does sound like apologist behavior, where I'm like, well, hold on. All the people writing you racist vitriol are just hurting.
No, I'm not taking it that at all. I also I just think it's important to not take offense because of that awareness. I do not think about these people. I also love to block. I'm like, block. I just block people all the time. My sister and I, we love to block. We're blockety block all the time. I don't understand this idea.
What's your drag name? Blockety block?
Oh, wow. I invented her today.
And she shows up to the gig and sings. She turns around. You can only see the back of her wig because she's singing to the back of the room because she's like, I blocked all of you.
I blocked everybody.
Blockety block.
Blockety block.
Wait, that's a really funny bit.
But why do people hesitate to block? That's another fascinating thing, is the shame behind blocking.
What are you talking about? There's shame in blocking? Teach me.
People have shame around blocking and also blocking exes on their phones. That's a whole thing. They're like, I don't want to because I don't want that person to think I XYZ.
I'm just going to say right now that any sentence that begins with "I don't want them to think" is useless, because people are going to think whatever they're going to think.
I blocked an ex-boyfriend for 7 months because I had no self-control on looking at his account. And I have no regrets. And I unblocked him when I came out of the heartbreak. And I really encourage people to look at blocking as a tool, because you can always unblock.
Okay, now I do understand what you're talking about with shame. I will call it that, like, I think we need to encourage people to be okay taking breaks.
Yes.
I'm going to say one more Brene defense, which is maybe she's just on break. Maybe she's blocked you because she's hurting so bad and she's trying to figure it out.
She's a boomer. She's fine.
She's not. She's actually very technically Gen X.
Really?
Yes, like solidly Gen X. But what you're responding to is that she's giving you solid boomer behavior. The struggle between generations is like the only area where I feel like I really let myself be a total bitch about it.
Yeah.
Like in private, I say the meanest things about boomers. I say the meanest thing because I really think they're holding on to power for too long. And as like a solid elder millennial, me and Pete Buttigieg, I'm like, literally get out of the way.
Vox, there's an amazing piece from Vox, I think it's from 2018, that talks about like the mass narcissism of boomers. And it's fascinating because the discourse in the piece is that boomers are the only generation who like could have the least amount of talent and still achieve success. They could still buy a home. They could still put their kids to school. They didn't actually have to be good at what they did. It was just the economic confluence of a country that was moving up and a society that hadn't adjusted their buying homes and wages and in all of the commodities that we had. So you could be literally the most mediocre Debbie.
But they think it was a meritocracy.
They think it was a meritocracy. I'm like, no, honey, you were a mediocre Debbie and you were born at the right time and in the right body. It has nothing to do with talent. But if you have a mass contingency of people, which we do have now, millions and millions of boomers who grew up like that, it's like a psychosis of narcissism amongst an entire generation.
Let's also add in that generation has had the internet added to its narcissism at such a late stage. So watching it play out so sloppily with all these typos and like crappy subtweeting.
Well, what's fascinating about boomers, this is not my original idea. I am blanking on the source. It'll come to me. But I was listening to something last week that was about why boomers are, that's what it was. It was Ryan Holiday and Jordan Klepper. And Ryan Holiday was interviewing Jordan Klepper around like the susceptibility of boomers to a lot of like online propaganda, especially within like the right MAGA world. And Jordan Klepper talked a lot about how boomers were introduced to the media landscape and the news cycle when there was trust and reliability associated with what you saw and watched. So they were watching Walter Cronkite, they were watching CBS News, and they were watching people going to Vietnam and reporting live. And you could trust the resources and the news to be what was truth in the world. That also continued in the birth of the internet, the birth of the online talk show. Same thing, integrity of reporting. So now they don't have the same media literacy or ability to see something on the internet and question it. It's almost like it's belief in truism first before they go into the doubt.
So imagine them.
It's fascinating. I had never thought about it like that.
The complete opposite for Gen Z, literally being like, I can't trust a single thing I see on the internet.
I love Gen Z though.
They've got a lot of plus sides. And I really believe that Gen Z and your very Gen Z attitude in this kind of like thoughtful reassessment of Brene, feminism has landed, I believe, with Gen Z in a way where they are like, but you guys told us not to accept this long list of things. No boss is ever allowed to put their hand on my butt, ever. Like, that's insane. So they are the generation saying, I'm not doing this. You told us.
Totally.
You told us.
I'm a Gen Z stan. I'm probably like, I get into debate arguments really with people all the time as a millennial because I love them. I also think that when millennials are like, they don't like to work hard, they don't do this. I'm like, that's the same thing Gen X and boomers said about millennials. Like, don't you have the self-awareness to not repeat history in that way? I also have hired probably 10 Gen Z throughout my career. I can name all of them. Taylor Bradford, Nicole Rodriguez, Chloe Flowers, Priya Mittal, Jillian Fink.
Name
I mean,
them.
the list goes on. Peyton Robinson. I'm serious. I could name all of them. Phenomenal fucking women. Hardworking. They have never, ever left me hanging. This whole thing of they don't want to do work, they don't care. I'm like, that's bullshit. I think it's total bullshit. I'm like, what's your hiring practice? What questions are you asking in these interview processes? Why are you having them stay late past 7 p.m. when like they have nothing to do? My Gen Z team are like, I want to go home. It's 4:30. I'm like, me too. Let's pack up. We have nothing to do, or I can do it at home. There is nothing that keeping them there does besides power.
Power over is very alluring when you see that the generation before you has had it for so long.
Yeah, and I also think, I had someone tell me that like they don't like their Gen Z assistant or whatever, their coordinator, because they don't finish the work and then they have to finish the work for them. And I said to them, why do you finish the work?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're a crappy manager.
If they don't finish the work, then we'll both get fired. I'm like, well...
Stop. They're back up like 4 steps.
I'm like, no, they'll get fired and you'll get knocked for being a bad manager for why that Gen Z didn't finish the work. But this inability to take stock and be like, oh, of course I hate this generation and it's breeding resentment because I'm doing their work. I'm like, hello, where's your self-awareness? How have you managed someone to this point where they feel they can leave you hanging? Let me fucking tell you, no one has left me hanging like that. Are you kidding me? No way.
Madison Utendahl has read all the books and she's been to all the management training courses. She's doing it. We're going to take a quick break.
That's not true.
We're going to take a break and come back for Act 2. Welcome back for Act 2 of Find Your Light. Madison, in Act 2 of the show, I ask my guests if there's anyone that you feel did not have a fair shake on the internet with their public shaming or cancellation. Anyone that you wish could have their public shaming reconsidered. Someone who, if they had had access to post-shame and could have gotten ahead of their story and told it on their own terms, that they could have come out, a stronger leader and helped other people deal with something similar.
I mean, there are people who I can think of that I'm like, wow, I think the internet maybe unfairly like ruined their lives and they didn't have the opportunity to speak for themselves. I'm not sure.
Like the woman being embraced by the CEO at the Coldplay concert.
Yes, whatever her name is, we stand with her.
We stand with her.
But, I think the larger thing about like leadership, I don't know if I would put that on anyone. I think that you said she did an Oprah interview, so I don't think I'm that well versed.
She did an Oprah podcast
I read her
interview.
New York Times piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Madison Utendahl doing the reading.
Listen, again, I said you can call me a bitch or whatever you want, but I am well read. that one, when people make those comments, I'm like, not me. You don't talk about me.
But like, is there anyone in the public discourse who you wish had an easier ride? You seem to be obsessed with the book Strangers by Belle Burden right now. And I feel that her action of writing this book is very much a post-shame action by getting ahead of it. And I haven't read the book, but I did watch her fabulous interview with Oprah and her kind of like humble like assessment. Like, I think it's so cool that she wrote this like memoir. Well, it's a story of a divorce and her husband up and leaving her at the beginning of COVID. But it's a memoir because she's trying to really examine, like in a way, she's kind of our number one because she's looking at the past, trying to imagine something different and like sitting in the present. And when you have children who are going to hear about their family, their father in this book, I mean, she's on Oprah for goodness sakes. Like, are you standing Belle Burden these days?
Oh gosh, yes, forever and always. Look, I read that book in a very short amount of time, and what I think she does exceptionally well in the book, almost to a fault, is she repeatedly acknowledges her privilege. I mean, over and over again. It actually ends up becoming like one of her crutches in advocating for her financial autonomy, advocating for like what she deserves in the divorce, as she goes through this like constant cycle of like, oh, but I was born into money and I'm a white wealthy woman in New York. Like, I shouldn't even try to pursue some of these things. I need to stop complaining. And the reality is that it doesn't, it's all relative, right? Like the way that she was left is, just because she's a wealthy white woman doesn't mean the awful way that her husband left her, that she doesn't deserve or has the opportunity to exist within the grief to which she did allow herself eventually. But there's she has a lot of self-awareness of her position in society in a way that I really appreciated. And she also talks a lot about the guilt and the shame of what it means to be like a left woman.
Yeah,
in society.
She does a really cool surfacing of the reality that when a woman is called hysterical, that it erases all of her story.
Yes.
That it's, and I've been kind of sitting with that, and the imagery of like a woman trying to show up to everything as a whole person with a whole story and a whole inner world, but if called hysterical by one man, especially in like a divorcing context, it's just like,
totally.
It like poof, erases something. And so I think her action of writing a book is so badass in saying, I refuse this label. I refuse being labeled hysterical in that way.
Absolutely. And also the shame of, well, what is he going to think and what is the world going to think of me because I'm speaking to my side of the story.
Well, how the world is going to call her a certain type of mother.
Reading that book, I was floored, frankly, by any man's ability to not just abandon his wife in that way, but to abandon his children.
And he did come out with a lot of statements that say, to the contrary, like, I'm still a father and I am there for my children and they're there for me. And she even says in the Oprah interview that
he's there in the way that works for him, which is dinners, right?
And text messaging.
Dinners and text messages.
But she did do full custody for the children.
He has never had the kids overnight.
Oof.
Once.
Now we're just, talk about.
I guess what I find.
And exactly, do we apply shame to this man for deciding?
Oh, I think he's probably going through his own shame. Are you kidding me? There's not a word. I've gotten messages from women when I posted about how important this book was. I've had women message me being like, I can't wait to run into him. I'm going to punch him in the face. He is undeniably I don't know. It's an assumption, but I would imagine that he's experiencing his own shame. I am unwilling to make any sort of excuses for a man who abandons their children, period. Like, I don't feel bad for you in any capacity. I think that is a incredibly selfish decision, especially because he's a man of means. Sometimes men abandon their children and their families because they cannot afford to take care of them, and there's a whole other layer of like masculine shame around not having money. There's like layers and layers and layers there. This is a wealthy hedge fund partner. This is a choice, exclusively a choice. He chose not to get an apartment with multiple bedrooms for his children. He has not had them over. He takes them to dinner and sends them text messages. And we're supposed to feel bad for him?
No, I'm not asking for anyone to feel bad for him. He's not one of the people I'm going to bat for. There's three sides to every story. Each person's version, and then some like third truth. But I
can hold that there's something that he experienced and trauma he probably has that has led to that kind of decision as an adult.
Yeah,
I can hold that.
I can't say like I am like really fascinated by like whatever his like inner journey is. No. But I did. It's funny. I'm fascinated by women. I'm obsessed with women. I'm obsessed with women's stories. I think my early fascination with my mother and my sister trying to figure out their inner worlds and understand my family is probably where that all comes from. But when I listen to these types of interviews, I am like, I don't know, maybe it's just something biological in me where I'm like, I wonder what he's doing. Like, I wonder what it's like for him. It's also like the shoelaces I can trip over as a man, as a white person.
No, look, I think of course I have also thought, I wonder if he's in hiding. I have thought about him
No,
in
in
the
his
world.
community, I highly doubt he's in hiding.
For sure, but I think most people question or think about him in this context too, not out of any sort of sympathy, but out of curiosity.
And the curiosity is, how much of yourself do you have to deny to be this stranger in this book? Like his
Yes.
journey around shame. I'm going to tie this all the way back to the burnout at the beginning.
Yes.
Of like, he was so unwilling to admit at any part during 20 years of marriage and parenthood, he was so unwilling to admit
Unhappiness.
It had disastrous consequences.
Totally.
And destroyed his family. And he's going to have an easier ride as a rich white businessman.
Yeah, but he is also like the consequences are even more enormous in a way that he frankly deserves, which is just like absolute public humiliation.
I'm just gonna walk back one
Belle
step.
Burden, I love you.
We love
We
you, Belle.
stand for Belle Burden.
We stand for Belle Burden. I don't know if I can ever, in the vein of post shame, like advocate for public humiliation.
That's fair.
Because I so desperately want a world that we spoke about right before the break, which
You wanna have him
was
on your podcast.
talk about like how corny it would be. Well, who am I, Tucker Carlson? Only
No,
doing
literally,
other
this podcast would
sidesism.
go like this.
Well, I mean, it would get a lot of views for being like the one man sympathizing happens to be this gay man in a sherbet colored jumpsuit being like, so like, was it the worst being married to her? Like, was she mean?
Canceled.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then we'd have an episode about you getting canceled for having Henry Davis on your podcast.
And the lesson would be, a black woman told me the
Not
power
to do
of
it.
my comments. Oh, not to do it. Just don't do it.
Just don't do it.
I'm going to run all my future guests by you and being like, I'm thinking about having a ton of outside celebrity
No.
empathy for the following person.
No.
The answer is no.
Wait, okay, but I want to go back to Belle Burden for a second. Why this book is so remarkable and how
Strangers
this
by Belle Burden.
Strangers by Belle
wherever
Burden.
books are sold.
is the way in enormous detail that she is able to, in writing, encapsulate the depth of her shame of failing as a mother and a wife. And that is why it's worth you reading it. She questions herself enormously. She feels the public shame of her community, of being the only non-married person now in her country club. She goes through this. She talks in depth about the shame with her children and what does it mean to be another woman in the lineage of her family, to have been left and cheated on by their partner. She goes through the shame of not knowing anything about her personal finances, not knowing where her, like signing her tax records and her tax bills, having not read them. That is like the depth of shame that she unpacks in this book is why you should read it, because I think it's incredibly hard to acknowledge all those things and sit in the shame and put it into writing so recently. This all happened in like 2022.
Yeah.
This isn't like she has 10 years of work that she's had to heal and now
No, she was born to be a writer, and she was born to write this.
it's a book that is riddled in a willingness to look at shame. And I think a lot of women get married and become financially illiterate, and who choose to not look at their finances because they have delegated the role of finances and money management to their husband. I will say, I do believe in, there's a great book called Fair Play, and it's about like healthy marriages and households are best operate when you have roles assigned, and not gender roles, but like this person does dishwashing, this person walks the dog in the morning. It's the same thing of like Obama only wearing 3 suits. If you can eliminate one sort of like decision you have to make, it allows for like love, intimacy, connection to flow beautifully in your relationship, because you're not caught up on like who takes out the trash and like who cleans the dishes. It's one school of thought. I say that because there's a role that often exists within heteronormative relationships, which is the man assumes the financial money management role and the woman assumes the household role and responsibilities. I'm not here to say that's wrong, but I don't think that just because someone has the role of running the dishes at night doesn't mean you shouldn't know how to use the dishwasher. Just because he manages the money doesn't mean you should not know, you don't know anything about your household budget.
Back to excellent management skills. Everyone should know how the company runs.
Absolutely. Exactly.
But you don't have to do every job.
You don't have to do it. You don't have to walk the dog, but you sure as hell better fucking know how to clip the damn leash on the collar. Do you know what I mean? Like, that to me is also one of the most important takeaways of this book, is that so many women exist a lot of shame because they know, and their stomach is dropping while I'm saying this, they don't know anything about their financial situation at home. I know you know who you are, and I know you hear this and you're like, fuck. There's a lot of shame in that in women, because the story of Belle Burden is not uncommon.
No. So here is the closing incantation prayer.
The closing is that I know I look at my finances within my marriage.
Madison Utendahl is signing her tax return with open eyes. So our final prayer and incantation is,
I love you, Belle Burden.
I love you, Belle Burden.
I love you, Wesley Morris.
We love you, Wesley Morris. Brene, I'm totes game to referee the
Someone
convo.
closed in on my face when you said that. I was like,
Brene Brown, I'm happy to referee the convo, the deep, meaningful convo on what it means to consider your legacy and your power.
Wait, actually, I something just came to me that I'm going to piss a lot of people off, but I actually do have someone that I think was unfairly canceled. I think we were a little harsh on Gayle King last year.
In the space thing?
Space and kind of like everything she did, even just like her wearing the Apple Watch at the Met Gala, which I was like, to the stylist.
The way you think that that's a broadly held belief that people are paying attention to.
Gayle King being canceled?
That is 20 people who care about this subject.
No, I don't think it's 20 people. I think people were really harsh on her about going to space. Now, I will also...
No, the going to space part and the tone deafness around Blue Origin and Katy Perry and the
100%,
women's empowerment. It was
I mean, look, I think the Blue Origin, Bezos, Lauren Sanchez thing, I'm like, don't get me started on that one. We need a whole podcast episode. I am not for them at all.
If you and I were invited to this year's Met Gala that is hosted by them, would we go?
I'd go in that AOC dress that she wore.
Tax the rich.
Tax the rich?
Read your tax returns. Tax the rich.
I'd wear Belle Burden's dress.
You'd walk with Belle Burden.
I'd walk with Belle. She'd be my guest.
She'd be your guest.
She'd be my guest. I actually was very in favor of the anger towards Blue Origin, and I thought it was very much warranted. I thought the hyperfixation on Gayle King was displaced. I'm like, this is a 7-year-old Black woman. I think, if anything, she just wanted to go to space. And I felt like, wow, there's a lot of anger towards her that I'm like, let's focus that on the billionaires and not on this Black woman. So I love you, Gayle King.
We love you, Gayle. I saw Gayle at O'Mary, which felt like particularly gay to see her at this Broadway show. She's like fabulous. Surrounded. She's so
and
fabulous.
And also, like, Gayle, she's a very nice person.
This podcast is about Brene Brown, Oprah, Gayle King, and Belle Burden.
And Wesley Morris.
And Wesley Morris. Oh my God. The way we are talking. Lena Garcia Navarro, who is a queen. We stand the queen. I still didn't finish my I feel like I was summarizing in the prayer of this of this podcast, which is nuance in debate are like what we want more than anything.
Yes.
Knowing your power, like the intensity of your power everywhere you go, is something you grow into, that you need friends and people to push back against you on to like really like prop you up. Like you're really helping poke holes in my celebrity empathy armor, because like you're really helping me see okay, with great power comes great responsibility, and you must like bring that with you. And I feel that stories of female empowerment are like a rising tide raises all ships. So like, just thank you for being one of the people I can talk to about like, these are all these women I'm like fangirling over, and you're like, yeah, Adam, keep going.
But women are also not a monolith.
For my friend Brooke Borg, did you hear Madison teach me that women are not a monolith?
I just caution this, like, because there are a lot of women out there, I'm like,
And on our next episode, when we invite Madison back, it will just be a bitchy episode where you drag ladies. It's called Madison Drags Ladies. Madison's having a bad day and she drags the following ladies.
I'm not here to drag women. I'm just saying we're not all cut the same.
Noted. Well, Is that the note you really want to end on?
No. The note I want to end on, and why I'm challenge you on celebrity empathy, is that I'm a really big believer that if you are given the privilege of being successful in your career, and that career ends up catapulting you to notoriety and therefore fame and celebrity, that is a 1 in a bajillion chances and opportunities. And that is a gift in many ways. And there is a responsibility with that gift, and you are given that, and you should be responsible with it. You should be thoughtful with it, because it does not come easy and it does not come often. It doesn't mean you can't make mistakes, but my dad always ingrained in the three of us that when we were so fortunate to be born into the privilege that we have, and he would always say, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Like the Mary Oliver quote, what are you going to do with your one
and glorious life, one precious life?
You know, and it's a responsibility. Like,
I can't remember who was the matriarch in the Kennedys who like instilled in all of those boys, like Ethel Kennedy, just being like, I think it's Ethel, of just saying you all must be of service.
Yes.
The whole point of that generation was you got to be of service. Mm-hmm. There's tons of complications with that generation and how they all went to work with it.
Ethel might have been RFK Sr.'s wife.
Yeah.
But yes, I know what you're saying. Yes.
There's another, I'll put it in the show notes. There's a matriarch that truly said that's the only point of this whole thing. And you've got the wealth and placement.
Yeah,
keep going.
And look, it's not that you can't be a celebrity and famous and make mistakes. I just think, I love John Hamm. That's probably one of the most random facts about me. But he is incredibly articulate. And when he does these interviews, you're like, what the hell?
It's easy to listen to him because he's so good looking.
He's so good looking, but he's really smart. But he did this interview recently that I was served on Instagram, and he talks about his dad teaching him, when you get the opportunity, what are you going to do with it? And that he feels socially a responsibility with his fame to be a good person, to give back because you don't get this opportunity. And I'm like, okay, if it's just something that I think about often. And so that's why and I don't think that Brené Brown isn't a human being. And I don't think that she isn't susceptible to making mistakes, as we all are. But I do believe it's okay, so you made a mistake and you have this opportunity. What are you going to do with it? That's the moral lesson here. And my inbox is open.
And you can email adam@postshame.org to set up the interview where you guys talk. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
Bell Burden.
Look at this one, the middle one. Bell Burden, we love you.
One?
The middle one.
Bell Burden, we love you.
Wesley Morris, we love you.
Oh.
Lulu Garcia Navarro, we love you. Oprah, we love you.
The kids do. They
Gail, we love you. Who else do we love?
We love ourselves.
Self-love. Utendahl Creative. Post Shame.
No more Utendahl Creative. Consulting. Changed it.
Consulting. Love you. Thank you.
Love you.
Mwah.